The Wildcats came home and roughed up the Buffs.
ACU beat West Texas on homecoming 28-18. Your home for Wildcat football is right here, right now on The Chris Thomsen Show.
Welcome to another edition of The Chris Thomsen Show. Grant Boone usually sitting in this seat, but he's gone this week, so I'm taking over. We have Taylor Langston, junior convergence journalism major here at ACU, and of course the coach Chris Thomsen. I'm Austin Gwynn. Coach, a huge 28-18 win last week against West Texas. You got the monkey off your back. In a way, they've beaten us on homecoming in 2007 and 2009, but the 2011 version of the Wildcats were able to get a win. Not only a big win, though, from the rivalry aspect. They came into the game undefeated in the Lone Star Conference, just like you guys. So how big was this win, not only from that rivalry point of view, but also in terms of the conference championship?
Well, just, you know, from the conference standpoint and the regional rankings and playoff implications, everything that goes into all that, all these games are huge. But that win over West Texas was big just because we know what a great team they are and what a tough time we've had. I think we were 4-4 going into that game, from the time that we've all been there, Coach Carthel and myself and our staffs, and hadn't won in the regular season. So that was a big deal at home to get that win and kind of reverse that trend. We had talked about that a lot, and our players just, stepped up. It was a really nice day from a weather standpoint. It was a great crowd and just a big day for our program.
Well, you guys go from one undefeated LSC team to the next. Last week's game was huge, but this week's game could top it. So ACU and Midwestern are the only two remaining undefeated LSC teams. What has preparation been like for this game?
It's been good. Tuesday practice was a little bit slow, just trying to get used to all the things that Midwestern does on offense and defense, kind of giving the guys a picture of their schemes. And there's still a few guys banged up after that West Texas game. It was a physical game, so. But Wednesday practice picked up a lot. The tempo was good, and I expect, the rest of the week was good, and I expect our team to come out and really play well tonight.
We'll talk more about that game happening tonight in Wichita Falls at 8 o'clock a little later on. Stick with us after the break for highlights from last week's win from yours truly and for more insight from Coach T about that win against West Texas. Hang around. Welcome back to the Chris Thomsen Show. Here's some highlights from last week's 28-18 victory.
All right, sports fans, your Abilene Christian University Wildcats taking on the Buffaloes from West Texas A&M in a homecoming special. Odd stat, though, the Buffaloes have beaten the Wildcats on homecoming at Shotwell in 2007 and 2009. So the Wildcats looking to break that streak, and they get the ball first. But it doesn't look good early as Mitchell Gale gets sacked not once, but twice, hard on the first drive. I know that's not the start Coach Chris Thomsen wanted from his Cats, but believe it or not, the only damage done in the first quarter is that WT field goal. After one, they're up 3-0. Then the Wildcat offense comes alive as Mitchell Gale hits tight end Ben Gibbs down the middle. Where are the safeties? Who knows and who cares? The big man rumbles for 75 yards down to the 20, and there's a Darrell Richardson special as he plunges into the end zone from 3 yards out to give the Wildcats a 7-3 lead. Next drive by WT, Damian Williams goes to make the tackle, and he says, "Hey, man, that's not your ball. That's my ball." And he just takes it right out of his hands. Wildcat ball. And look at this. They're already back in business as Gale hits Taylor Gabriel 40 yards down to the WT 23-yard line. What can Brown do for you? Well, Reggie Brown can get you inside the 5 on that pass. And Gale says, "Okay, Reggie, I'll give it to you again." And he goes into the end zone from 6 yards out. Touchdown for number 6, Reggie Brown. 14-3 Wildcats. WT not going to be going down that easy as Dustin Vaughn throws his first touchdown of the day, and that narrows the lead to 14-10. At halftime, the scoreboard read 14-10. Now, something that always happens on homecoming weekend is the crowning of the homecoming queen, and this year the winner was Ariel Collier from the Women's Social Club of Alpha Chi Omega. There she is getting crowned. Her dad standing right there, a proud dad beside her. And there are the women of Alpha Chi cheering on their sister as she celebrates with the other two homecoming court nominees from Alpha Chi, Corianne Wesley and Kelsey Wicks. Other social clubs will post their signs up behind the field goal posts throughout the game. And there's the ACU fans getting into it, singing the famous Highways and Byways song, famous from Chapel and song leader Stephen Moore. Now, back to football. Start of the second half, Cats have the ball. Now, 3rd and long, Gale just throws it up for Jermaine Sherman, and he goes up the ladder and gets it. The 6'3" receiver uses every inch to get that ball, 21-10 Wildcats. Then things really start to unravel. Spencer Covey fumbles the snap, and the WT Buffaloes get the ball at the ACU 8, and they just go ahead and go score. And that makes it 21-16, an extra point. Oh, no, wait, it's a fake. It's a fake. And WT goes in for the 2-point conversion, 21-18, only a 3-point game. Sharkandrick West says, I think it's time to turn on the Jets. Speedy Gonzalez down to the 47-yard line of the Cats. That's a nice return. And the first play on offense, Gale hits Justin Andrews. Boy, that play looks familiar, doesn't it? Same play he used for the 75-yard pass to Gibbs. And Andrews into the end zone. Touchdown, Cats, 28-18. It wasn't all about the offense, though, as Aston Whiteside had 3 of the Wildcats' 8 sacks on the day. Here he is taking down Vaughn a few times. The defense holds West Texas A&M without a point the rest of the game. That's the game. Mitchell Gale takes a knee in victory formation. 28-18 Wildcats. They get a big win on homecoming to break that odd losing streak against the Buffs. The Cats are still undefeated in conference play. There's only 2 teams left that are undefeated in the Lone Star Conference, and they're going to meet next Saturday. The Wildcats and the Midwestern State Mustangs in Wichita Falls next Saturday at 8 o'clock.
Coach, definitely a big win last week. And this ACU-WT rivalry has usually been really heated. You look at the 93-68 game a couple of years back, even last year, the huge comeback in the 4th quarter to clinch share of the Lone Star Conference championship. But this year, though, there were a couple of close minutes in the 3rd quarter. But when it got to the 4th quarter, not as much drama as we've seen in years past. Was it a relief on the sidelines there at the end of the game to maybe not have as much pressure at the end of the game?
Yeah, it was nice to, after we dropped the punt and they scored and made it, I guess 21-18 at that point. They got a little drama filled at that point for me. But, once we came back, hit the good kickoff return, Sharkandrick got it out in good field position, and we're able to hit Justin on the big play action down the middle. I think the next play, the first play of that drive, that was big to go up 10 at that point and kind of put a little separation between us and WT. It usually doesn't work like that, you're right. But, for me, all those games are drama-filled just because any one mistake could cost you and put you in a position where they could come back and win the game. But it was nice to have a little separation.
Well, offense did nothing in the 1st quarter. They didn't even have a first down. And it wasn't until the 2nd quarter when Mitchell Gale hit Ben Gibbs right over the middle. 75 yards later, he's on the WT20. That play right there really sparked something going for the offense.
Yeah, it did. I mean, to not get a first down in the whole 1st quarter and then to start the 2nd quarter on your own 1-yard line, that's not very positive or optimistic at that point. But I think it shows the character of our guys just to hang in there. It shows our defense did a great job keeping us in the game, getting stops and not letting that thing get away from us, because sometimes you can fall so far behind with poor offensive performance early that you can dig yourselves a hole. But I think our guys just stayed in there. We talk a lot about that, just play the next play no matter what the situation, and I think they did a good job with that.
That 99-yard drive, your longest of the season, obviously. But later in the game, you had a 98-yard drive. Your 2 longest drives of the year happened in the same game. That's not only impressive from a sheer yardage perspective, but clock management, ball control, keeping your defense on the bench. How important was it for you to have those 2 drives in the game?
Well, all those things you mentioned were important, but probably the biggest thing there in the 3rd quarter with that drive was, we elected coming out of the 2nd half to take the wind in the 4th quarter. We wanted to have the wind at the end of the game, and the wind was a factor in the kicking game. So when you take the ball in the 3rd quarter and you go into the wind, and that drive ate up a lot of time. I can't remember how much time exactly the drive was, but it took a lot of the 3rd quarter clock. So that negated the wind advantage for West Texas. So in addition to all those things you talked about, really eliminating their wind advantage, getting the wind in the fourth quarter was a huge plus for us.
Okay, and just as it looks like things are kind of starting to pick up, they're going in our way, a third down pass hits the referee in the head, 50-plus yard field goal attempt on the next play, short because of a bad snap. WT gets the ball on their own 8, and then they score, and then 2-point conversion they get on a fake extra point. What could have potentially been a 3-score game quickly turned to a 3-point game. You're on the sideline. It's 21-18. What's going through your mind?
Some of that drama that we talked about earlier. I mean, you know, the main thing you have to do in any of those situations is just remember to stay calm and play the next play and remind your players of that. And that's because I think sometimes when the momentum shifts, if you don't have a mature team and they can't handle those swings in the game, it can get away from you. So we just, you know, I didn't see any panic from our guys, and you know, you're always upset a little bit at that point, but you know, you just got to go back out and make a play, and that's what our guys did.
And coming out from that kickoff that WT had after they scored that touchdown, special teams, like it has all year it seems, steps up again. Sharkhandrick West gets the ball down close to midfield, and on the very first play, Gale hits Andrews with a pass that looked a lot similar to the pass he hit Ben Gibbs on in the second quarter, and Andrews took it the rest of the way. We got a little bit lucky there. Their defender tripped, but he gets in the end zone, and just like that, it's a 10-point game. You guys utilized the middle of the field a lot in that game. Was that a scheme thing that you were focused on going into the game?
Yeah, I mean, like Ben talked about, I mean, some of those throws in the middle of the field were off of play action where you're trying to get the linebackers to step up and throw the ball in behind them, and then you hope that their safeties are out of position a little bit. And we just, you know, a couple of those times were able to get big plays, and that was both those plays with Ben and Justin were just key turning points in the game.
Absolutely. A big 28-18 victory against the Buffs. Coach, thanks for your insight. When we come back, we go from Coach T to player with Taylor Langston as she talks to Ben Gibbs, who is on the receiving end of that 75-yard pass we talked about. Stick around for more of the Chris Thomsen Show after this.
Last weekend, 4 of ACU's own squared off with some of the best tennis players in the nation at the ITA National Small College Championship in Alabama. Singles competitors Hans Hawk and Julia Monjean each took away a third-place finish, while doubles pair Micah Hermsdorf and Hannah Kelly finished 4th place overall after being defeated by Lewis University. It was a successful weekend, having advanced to the national championship, and they will close the outstanding season next weekend, the men at the University of Kansas and the women at Tyler College. The women's soccer team defeated 2 conference teams last weekend to bring their undefeated record to a more than respectable 13-0-1. Last Friday night, the women were on the road as they faced Incarnate Word and came away with a 2-0 win. The Wildcats turned around and traveled again the following day to San Angelo to defeat ASU on their home pitch 2-1 in overtime. Ashley Holton scored to tie things up late in the second half and then scored the game winner in overtime. The Wildcat volleyball team had their best week of the season last week as they took down 3 conference opponents. The 3-match win streak ties their longest of the season. A big record was broken for the Cats' win at Tarleton, though, that deserves a little bit of attention. With a dig in the first set, senior Kelsey Edwards became ACU's record holder in career digs with 1,579 over her 4 seasons as a Wildcat. Coach Kellen Mock has routinely praised Edwards' ability as the best libero in Wildcat history, which is saying something since Edwards passed Mock on her way to becoming the all-time digs leader. With McMurray University in Abilene making the jump to Division II next year, it potentially gives the Wildcats a crosstown rival in all sports. It looks like one old rivalry might be renewed quickly. Both McMurray's athletic director Ron Holmes and ACU's director of athletics Jared Mosley have confirmed that talks have taken place about trying to schedule a Wildcats versus Warhawks football game next year. ACU and McMurray played each other every year from 1938 to 1971, but with ACU going Division II, the rivalry was ended. Both sides have expressed interest in getting a game in place next year at Shotwell, and Holmes said he would love to play a team as high profile as ACU, while Mosley has expressed the need for more close-to-home non-conference games, and McMurray provides just that. Although nothing is final, don't be surprised to see that matchup go down next season. We're back on the set of the Chris Thomsen Show. Joining us now is senior tight end Ben Gibbs. Ben, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first of all, you got a big win on your last homecoming game as a Wildcat. How does it feel to beat a big rival on such a big day?
You know, it's awesome. You know, it's good anytime you can beat a big rival like that, like West Texas. To do it on homecoming in front of the home crowd, big home crowd like that was great. You know, you're only guaranteed 10 games a year, and you know, so those are special.
Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier with Coach, but until you got that 75-yard run in the second quarter to the WT20, you guys had negative passing yards. Set that play for us up just a little bit and tell us what was going on and what happened.
Well, you know, early in the week we had seen that they're pretty aggressive on the run. You know, they like to come downhill and stop the run pretty well. So our offensive coordinator, Coach Collins, drew up that play early in the week and just kind of combat that aggressive style of defense, and we got over the top and just happened to hit a big play on them.
Good. Well, the first ACU possession of the game, we kept being pushed back into our end zone, and that WT defense came on very, very strong. And how did you overcome that bad start and finish with 96 total receiving yards?
You just got to be patient, you know, and it happens all the time in games where, you know, the defense is going to make big plays. But if you just keep playing, you got to be patient, and things will end up turning your way.
You said earlier that you had been watching a lot of film on this Midwestern team. How are you expecting to overcome their defense and how they're going to be coming at you guys hard all game?
Yeah, they're going to be pretty tough. Just like WT's defense, they're going to keep coming after us. They're going to be big. They're going to be fast. So, like I said, we just got to be patient. Just keep playing the next play. You know, whatever happens, don't get too down on ourselves. You know, don't get too up on good plays. Just keep playing on.
Well, coming off of a big win against WT, ranked in the Division II football, and also they were undefeated. You took them out of that. You're going up against another undefeated LSC team. How are you going to compare last week's win, and what are you going to do to defeat Midwestern this week?
Well, you know, it's tough. This conference is, you know, it's a battle every week. So, you know, it definitely gives us confidence, but, you know, that game was last week. We got to focus on Midwestern. They're, you know, first in pretty much everything in offense. So they're going to be a tough team. They're going to be a tough task to handle.
Okay, well, we look forward to it. Ben, thank you so much again for being here. And stick around for more of the Chris Thomsen Show right after this.
Back on set at the Chris Thomsen Show, and we take a look at the Lone Star Conference standings. You'll notice the two teams at the top, ACU and Midwestern, playing each other this week in Wichita Falls, and we'll get to that matchup in a second. But we see some of the teams below ACU and MSU and WT, teams like Kingsville, Tarleton, and Incarnate Word. A huge jumble right there in the middle of the LSC. Usually we don't see that. Most years we see a lot of teams that either really good or really bad. But this year there seems to be a little bit more parity in the LSC. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, definitely. I think any team on any Saturday can win in the Lone Star, no matter where you are in the standings. Every team has really good players and good coaching staffs, and you've got to be prepared each week, no matter who you're playing.
Okay, well, let's get to the premier LSC matchup today between Midwestern and ACU. A big offense coming out for this Midwestern team. The lowest scoring game that they've had this year was a 41-0 win. 3 games out of the 6 that they've played, they've beat their opponent by more than 40 points. What are you expecting from your defense against such a powerhouse offense?
Well, the first thing we got to do is stop the running game. They're like maybe the #1 rushing team in the country, or 2 or 3 somewhere in there, and they're a big physical team. They've got one of their offensive linemen, their left tackle, is a projected 3rd or 4th round NFL pick, and they got a couple other guys that are really, really exceptional, and a couple of running backs that have been around for a while and been very productive. So you have to stop their run game first. But their quarterback's good. He can also run the football, so you got to really watch the play action. He'll fake the run and throw it over the top of you. So their screen game's tough. The defense has got to come out and stop the run early. If you just let them run it down your throat, it's going to be a long day. So got to stop the run, or at least slow it down a little bit, and then work on their other things that they do.
And talking about the run, that's a little bit of a different look than we've seen from them in past years. With quarterback Zach Eskridge behind center, they were a little bit of more of a pass-first team. This year, though, I mean, you mentioned the running game. Last week alone against Angelo State, almost 400 yards rushing as a team, and that's not a rarity. That's been every single week for them. We kind of saw it that week in Cowboy Stadium after the ACU game. And you mentioned it, what you're going to have to do with your defense. But just as a coach, you've been around this league long enough to know we don't usually see run-first teams in the LSC, do we?
Typically we don't. And I think, in the past they've always been a very effective running team. But Zach was such a good passer that they were more balanced, and the kid this year is is also a good passer, but he's a first-year starter. It's the first time he's started. He played behind Zach for a couple of years, and so I think they've tried to let him settle in. We might see more passing game this week from him as you see the progression of a quarterback. They start to trust him more. I thought he made some really good throws against Angelo State, so they may come out in this game and be a little bit more balanced. But it's definitely a different. 4 of the 6 teams we played have been air raid, Texas Tech style offenses, so it's definitely different.
Well, let's go to the other side of the ball. Midwestern defense has given up quite a bit of yards this season. In one game against A&M Kingsville, they gave up 38 points. So what are you going to do to attack this Midwestern defense?
Well, we'll do what we always do. We're going to come out and try to run the ball as well and be balanced, and then throw play action pass and then spread it out some, and similar game plan to what we did last year. And those, we scored, I think, 31 last year on them, and that's hard to do. They're always a good defense. They're always big and physical and can run. So we've got to establish our balance. If we fall behind in this game and have to throw more than we want to, that could be tough. That's what happened to us a little bit earlier in the season, and it's important for our defense to kind of get a hold on the game and not let those guys get away from us.
It's tough to find weak spots with an undefeated team like Midwestern, but maybe one you guys can attack is in special teams. 2 weeks ago, they gave up a return touchdown to Tarleton State, and they've given up some other big returns, maybe not have gone for scores, but given up some big returns. And I mean, we all know that we've got plenty of speedsters on special teams for us. Is that going to be something that you're going to stress to your team this week?
Yeah, hopefully, in a game like this, sometimes the difference is a play in special teams. Like last week with Chicander getting out to midfield on the, the kickoff return when they went 21-18 on us. That was big. The return Tarleton had on them and then the block punt Tarleton had on them were really rain factors. The kick was real short. The block punt was a drop punt, actually, because it was wet. I don't expect them to make those kind of mistakes. They typically don't, but I expect a hard-fought special teams game, and one play in there could be the difference, a punt return or a kick return or something. We hope we get that.
Coach, good luck to you this week as you make the somewhat short drive to Wichita Falls. For coverage of the game, be sure to check out acuoptimist.com for a recap afterwards, and be sure to catch us right here next week on The Chris Thomsen Show when we'll recap ACU and Midwestern. For Taylor Langston and the coach Chris Thomsen, I'm Austin Gwynn.